Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and in this video I'm going to show you how to fix I guess like you could say a mushy button or a button that doesn't register properly on a PSP. Now for me, it's just the square button. It's probably be hard to get in focus on camera, but I get good bounce back on those, but the square, if I can do it right on the edge here, it's pretty good. But here it's kind of mushy. To take the faceplate off, there's a screw here, one here that you have to go behind the, I like to just remove the sticker while I'm working on it. Two screws here, and then one right there. And then this just comes right off. Okay. So this is the D-pad side. And this is the overlay. These all are in here individually. What the problem is you can see that this is the big rubber gasket, I guess you could almost say, or it's a membrane that makes contact with the board. But to accommodate the screen being here, they kind of made the rubber for the square button to be short. So you can see that these are all held down when you press through. But this one, half of it's exposed, doesn't have as good of a resistance. So what I was reading on the internet, I can't believe someone actually had a fix that worked, is I didn't know, but actually that membrane makes contact with the bezel of the screen right here, and there's a cutout there, which is stupid, unless that's just the foam that got pressed, but it actually looks like it's a cutout. And that's how it, even though that membrane isn't large enough, it holds up against this to give it the springy resistance. So that little foam gets pushed down, and as that membrane probably just stretches a little bit. The solution that I read was to get like a thicker rubber band and cut it roughly to that size. It doesn't need to be that big. It probably doesn't even need, you could either make it either length, but I like this. And then you might want to put black Sharpie on it just so it you can see it through the plastic a little bit. And this actually acts as a spacer. I like to dry fit it at first. You don't want it to overlap the screen. Just dry fit it. And then I first tried like a little credit card type thickness. That seemed, it was a little too non-forgiving, too solid. Let's see if I can place this back on. Of course, I'd knock the buttons out. And then one thing you'll notice once you put this back on, you may have some issue having this want to sit flush, just because there's a little bit of a spacer in there that's kind of pushing the faceplate off. This isn't a factory one. This is I guess a Chinese made one, so I'm having some problems with this one, so I actually bought another one, but I'm demonstrating on it. This is the original Sony one, which the button on it, but it's cracked, so I can't really use it. But the button doesn't, just the innards are made better, obviously, on the official Sony one. But now, it's still mushy, but it has a bit more spring to it. And then once you get all the screws in, and it's even tighter against it, you'll get a little more. But there's just slightly not as much travel now because there's a little bit of a spacer there. Now, one easy way to test the button if it's still registering is to go into the internet browser. And then you'll hit triangle, and then you can close that. It's a little bit hard to register the presses because I don't have all the screws in, just so it's not as firm up against the board. But see, like I'm pressing it way harder than I should have to. But if I had the screws in, it'd make a little. But anytime you press the square and it registers, it puts that line up there. And you can see I'm still not getting, but the circle button's working. and X. So it's something you have to experiment with sometimes to get the right length. It's not as hard on the, if you're using the official one, because everything just fits better. I had it working perfectly before, but again, I'm just doing this video just to demonstrate, because that's why I don't like this one, because nothing fits right. So I just wanted to show that before I put another faceplate on it. Another thing you can do is, once you have this faceplate off, if you find that it's just, like I was kind of showing there earlier, it just took too much pressure to hit the board, that's mainly just this button that does it. If you can get something to use as another spacer, hopefully I can get the light on this, where that presses down, you need something very thin just to make it a little, so there's a little bit more length, and it just pushes it a little bit further. And of all things, I had this perfectly sized piece of plastic from a one of the the little punch out things on those little mini cards, or you could just, but I find it to be too thick, because when I put it in there, then it makes it to where it's almost always registering as a press. So you'd have to experiment with different lengths, but you just lay it in there, and you could just put a little drop of glue on it if you wanted, but nothing permanent. And then the same goes for this piece. You have to experiment with it again. You actually have to screw it together so that way there's pressure on it, and you know if it's proper, if it's too hard to press, or if it's registering as a press all the time. But once you have it the way you want it, then I would suggest taking it back apart and then just using Elmer's a glue stick. Nothing any more permanent, because this is just a soft foam, so it would just tear off. What I would do is just put a little glue stick on it, and that's enough just to keep it in place without, really sealing it on there permanently, and then you can take it back off. So it isn't the easiest thing to describe, and it's, again, as a per user basis, depends like how damaged things are. But this is the only solution I found on the internet. Just cutting something to that width on here, and then just trying to give it to this has a little bit more resistance on it, then that'll give you a better press on that button and help it register better. So again, you have to try and figure out what'll work for yours, whatever condition yours is in. But this little rubber band or something else, it at least should give you an idea that's actually where the problem's caused at. So hopefully you can figure out some way to get that to work for you. So thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.